Wow, haven't done this in a while. Hello and welcome to another episode of Magic 101. Today, I want to talk about something that doesn't really come up very much in Negima, and that's potions. Most of the magic in the series is spellcasting. A mage will chant an incantation, wave their wand, and then something happens. We rarely see anyone drink a potion to achieve a magical effect, which makes it really easy to make a video about because there aren't that many things to go over. First off, let's start with, for lack of a better word, regular potions. In Chapter 2, we see Neji mix a potion for the first and only time, when he makes a love potion as a gift for Asuna. He mixes the ingredients together in a beaker and boils them over an open flame, before waving his hand and chanting a spell. He doesn't make it clear what exactly goes into the potion, just that he needs these 7-color magic pills. It's clear that these pills are integral to the potion, which leads me to believe that the other ingredients are probably just ordinary household items that you can find anywhere. Lots of fictional works have wizards making potions out of Eye of Newt and unicorn blood or whatever, but realistically, I don't think Neji would have brought that with him when he came to Japan. Or at least, I would have been very concerned if he did. It seems to me the thing that really makes the potion magical are these pills. Asuna forces it down his throat, and as soon as she does, everyone who looks at him instantly falls in love with him. The only reason it didn't work on Asuna is because, although we didn't know it at the time, she has magic cancel. The interesting thing is that he didn't cast a spell. The magic activated just by being in his body, and this is long before we're introduced to the concept of unencanted spells. So potions activate instantly and don't require any magic power from the drinker. They seem kind of OP, yet we barely see anyone use them in combat. I can think of 2 potential reasons for this. First, maybe they're just really difficult to make. When Nodoka and Yue are trying to learn magic, they practice basic spells, and Neji mentions 78 hours of study, but he never says anything about potions. I know he didn't really have any reason to bring it up in that moment, but it's possible that potion making is really advanced stuff that you only learn after years of training. In the magic world, there's a potion called Elixir that sells for 1 million drachma. I don't know anything about the economics of Mundus Magicus, but generally, the more time and effort it takes to make something, the more expensive it will be. This doesn't tell us much about potions in general, just this one particular potion, but it's the only real reference point we have for how much potions cost, so it may imply that they're really rare. The other potential reason is maybe there are just certain types of magic that are exclusive to potions. We've seen Neji make a love potion, but we've never seen anyone cast a love spell with a wand. The elixir potion I mentioned can cure diseases, and Neji specifically said that his healing magic only works on physical wounds. It's entirely possible that there is just no such thing as an offensive potion. There are a few other minor potions in the series, like the chocolate that Camel ordered off the Mahonet that caused anyone who eats it to fall in love with the first person they see. There's also the age-changing pills, and a candy that forces you to blurt out your honest feelings. I guess technically, none of these are actual potions, because they're not liquids. They're things that you chew or swallow, or not drink. But I assume potions were used in the manufacturing process, or that there are potions inside of them. In that same vein, there's also something called the Philosopher's Stone, that isn't a potion, but was probably created by one. If that sounds familiar to you, it's because the Philosopher's Stone is actually a real thing. Well, a real myth. Like the Holy Grail or the Fountain of Youth. There are a ton of stories about the Philosopher's Stone in real life, but creating one has always been the ultimate goal of alchemy. If you've ever seen Fullmetal Alchemist, you probably know it can turn lead into gold and water into wine and stuff like that. But its main purpose is immortality, which is why it's sometimes called the Elixir of Life. Or other times it's used to brew the Elixir of Life. In UQ Holder, Juzo swallows one and becomes immortal. Creating a Philosopher's Stone is probably the ultimate goal of potion making in Negima, just like how it's the ultimate goal of alchemy in real life. Because alchemy isn't really a thing in Negima. but I'm sure it's extremely rare. Otherwise, every other person would be immortal. But let's look at some more common uses of potions. In Neji's first fight with Evangeline, she uses what I think are the most interesting kinds of potions in the series. At this point, the vast majority of her power is still sealed. She is being powered up by the full moon, so she can use magic now, but just barely. So she has to rely on catalyst potions. And these seem to break all the rules we just talked about. First of all, instead of drinking them like a typical potion, she throws them, and then has to intentionally activate the spell by calling out its name. They basically function like delayed spells. I think the important thing to remember here is that they are catalyst potions. In case you didn't know, catalyst isn't a made-up word, it's a chemistry term. A catalyst is defined as a substance that lowers the activation energy of a chemical reaction without actually being part of the reaction. In other words, it just makes the process a whole lot easier. Like when you get a friend to tell your crush about how great you are, so you can ask them out easier. Not that I know anything about that. But anyways, when you apply this to magic, it just means that she can cast spells with a much lower energy cost. I'm sure she thought to put the energy in when she made the potion, just like how Neji had to cast a spell to make his love potion. But you don't drink these potions, so she should still have to expend a small amount of energy to activate the spell. Think of it like a stick of dynamite. She doesn't have to generate the force for the entire explosion, just enough to light the fuse. It's never explained if it's just a generic catalyst, or if she has to make a specific potion for each spell she plans on using. She does use vials of different shapes and sizes, but I mean, that doesn't prove anything. Half the cups in my house don't match. You might be wondering, if it lowers the energy cost, then couldn't you use them to amplify the power of your spells? But I don't think it works that way. Neji says that it's really, really weird that a mage as skilled as Evangeline would have to rely on catalyst potions, implying that they're kind of like training wheels for mages who aren't strong enough yet to perform the spells on their own. So I don't see how it would make their magic any stronger. Remember, catalysts are not part of the reaction, they just help it along. So if you don't need them, they're basically useless. It would be like adding training wheels to a Formula One race car. In the second to last chapter of Negima, Yua introduces us to a new type of potion that kind of puts the others to shame. They're basically catalyst potions on steroids. Just like catalyst potions, they are prepared in advance and allows you to use spells without incantations. But unlike catalyst potions, which only makes the spell easier to use, Yue actually says she brewed the spells into it. It essentially is the spell in liquid form. Then she drinks it, storing the spells in her body, so she doesn't have to physically carry around a bunch of test tubes. At this point, they act like delayed spells, or like Maggie Arabia's ability to store spells in the body. You can just pull them out whenever, and Yue apparently invented this all on her own. In other words, she invented a perfectly safe and stable system of storing spells in your body that mimics one of the applications of Maggie Arabia, arguably the most advanced and complex magic technique in the franchise, but without any of the drawbacks. I know I like to talk up Evangeline as one of the most skilled mages in the series, but if Yui really did invent this by herself, then she definitely surpasses Eva, at least in terms of potion making. And there's nothing to imply that they're weaker or anything. Again, she brewed the spell into the potion, so it should have as much power as it did when she first cast it. The only weakness, and I do use that term loosely, is that after she drinks it, she only has a few minutes before she has to pee. And yeah, it makes sense that you wouldn't be able to use the spells anymore after the potion leaves your system. But I think that says more about Yue than the potion, because it's implied that she has kind of a weak bladder. Because she goes to the bathroom a lot. But in her defense, that potion was huge. If I had to drink that, I'd probably be running to the bathroom too. It's also worth noting that there were multiple spells in there. We see her use at least 3, and she definitely had more in her, because she released the rest when Pao, touched her. but it's entirely possible that with fewer spells in it, there might be less potion to drink. But those are all the different types of potions in Negima. There aren't a ton of them, but they're still fun to speculate about. If you enjoyed this video, then maybe consider subscribing. I make videos about Negima and UQ Holder all the time. I hope to see you there. And until then, remember, the real magic is a little bit of courage.